really specifically, what one of the reasons I wanted to have Rich here, other than the fact that he's an amazing creative artist and an accomplished cat, is that as I've known him over the years, one of the things that I've seen consistently is how savvy he is at building up his career by putting together lots of different parts. So it's not just about going out and DJing. Rich was also on the BET television program called Master of the Mix. I don't know if anybody saw that. Anybody see that? It was like a reality show competition for DJs. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more. Can you get into that a little bit, talking about just the different ways that you, because I know you as a hustler and someone who's ready to grind hard and work hard, talk about building up different opportunities, because that's one of the things we've been talking about in here is building up a kind of portfolio for yourself of different activities that keep you afloat as an artist.
Well, I think one thing that a lot of artists and musicians forget to put into their repertoire is the fact that this is indeed work. This is indeed about business. We may be doing art or something that makes us feel good or something that sounds nice, but at the end of the day, it's all about supply and demand, right? That's how business functions. You supply a client, the client demands what they need. If the needs are met, or if there's a ground between the two, then you have a business, and your business will continue to flourish as long as you take care of your clientele. There's also a thing called the 80-20 rule, which means that you will get 80% of your business from 20% of your clientele. When you go into your art coming out of school and you have an appreciation for those facts, it puts you in a position to know that just because somebody puts on a suit and tie and goes to a 9 to 5 every day, you might not be going to a 9 to 5 every day, but you're still taking your ass to work. And when you go to work, you have to be prepared, you have to be ready to work, you have to be ready to adjust under pressure. You might come in with a plan, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and they got a different kind of mic, or there's a different keyboard than you were expecting, or there's a different horn, different reed, different strings, whatever. To be able to adjust on the fly is very important. And then when you're applying those things, with it being the information age, it's very important to take advantage of the social networks, to take advantage of your opportunity to be ubiquitous. You think about all the people that came before us, before the information age, there was no such thing as a cell phone. There was no such thing as an email. There was no such thing as Skype, Facebook. That was like a dude walking down the street, pushing a thing, stick some mail in your door, and keep it moving. That was your Facebook. So if you weren't functioning within those capacities, your clientele would have no idea who the hell you are. Now we're in the information age. Now you can push a button and talk to somebody in Yugoslavia in 30 seconds. But the vast majority of us assume that because we can play our chromatic scales and we can play all the standards, or we can do this or we can do that, that it's just gonna come to us. And that's where the flip side of the information age comes in, because the way popularity is presented to us today is presented to us on a reality TV protocol. A reality TV says, get on TV, act like a fucking retard with your friends, have a train wreck on camera, and you're a star. And I think those of us who do bring a viable skill set to the table sometimes fall victim to the perspective that we're gonna get the same type of lens placed on us just for showing up, when actually we have more of an uphill battle to fight, because you're always proving that you're worthy of the opportunity in the first place. And then when you get the opportunity, then you gotta nail that. And then after you nail that, which is to Phil's original point, now you gotta follow up. So at the end of the show, when the dude from France comes over and says, oh my God, this was magnificent, we must have you come play at our club, and he gives you a card, what are you gonna do, stick it in your pocket and blow him off? You gotta email that dude. You gotta call that dude. You gotta send him your press kit. You gotta send him videos of yourself. You have to send him music. You have to do the things that you need to do to provoke your current clientele and to turn on new clientele. I don't care what instrument you play. I don't care what year you're in. I don't care how many instruments you play. If you're not being provocative to your current and future clientele, all this schooling and all this money that you're spending going to places like this goes to waste, because you have an advantage. You're coming into a work environment with a skill set and a perspective that somebody who's just freestyling it on the street that doesn't have the opportunity to come to a school like this doesn't have. And you have to really take advantage of all of those opportunities. So it's not about just, oh yeah, I'm on Facebook and I got a couple thousand friends and people know. Those are just people sitting there. You know, you have to provoke them. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of ways to be provocative. It depends on how do you want to be seen, you know? Do you want to be the dude with jeans and wild hair? Can you present that consistently enough that people buy it? Do you want to be the dude that's very suity and very super Mr. Jazz guy? Can you do that consistently and present it to a clientele where they take you seriously? I mean, look at a guy like Prince. He don't just go on stage with them boots and that cape. I've hung out with Prince outside the stage. He rocks that shit all day. That's who he is, you know what I'm saying? And so, to my point, it's viable. So when he comes on stage with it, that's why it's so natural. Because Sunday to Sunday, that's how he rocks. It's not an act. It's not a facade. And you have to be very careful that you're paying attention to the way that you present yourself. Even if you don't have your acts in your hands, just walking down the street. You know, if you're acting out of pocket, maybe it's your behavior that will stop you from getting an opportunity. Maybe your behavior is better than your skill set. Maybe the person who speaks on your behalf as a manager or as a booking agent has such a good gift of gab, as much of a dick as you might be, to get you work all day. It's all, you know, it's all relative. So you have to pay attention to all of these aspects so that you can really take care of your business. I'm assuming that everyone here desires to be a professional musician or a professional instructor or a professional whatever of some sort. You need to take care of your P's and Q's, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's, because it's like I said in the video, there's somebody out there that's got this much more talent than you, and there's somebody out there that'll outwork you by this much. So no matter how dope you think you are, somebody will come along one day and dunk in your fucking face, unless you're prepared. And even if you are prepared, sometimes you just can't stop that dunk. The key is to come back the next game and play hard. And with our discipline, because it's so individual, you know, yeah, we're in groups and bands, but you really have to pay keen attention to how you present yourself to the world and what reasons people will or will not want to experience what you bring to the table.
So I wanted to ask you too, Rich, about, can you explain to us a little bit about all the different activities that you're doing? Because to someone who's not familiar with Rich, it's kind of amazing how many different projects he has going on and how many different things he's been involved with. So could you just maybe tell us a little bit about how you approach like building up new projects, whether that's a new party, how you build up a concept for a new party, some of the different ancillary things you're doing like on the road with Rich Medina, and like that really interesting interview you did with Booker from yeah. If you could tell us a little bit about that, because that'll, again, going back to building up a number of activities that are going to maintain you as an artist.
My approach is, it's a little bit off the path, I think, but I try to view my discipline like a fighter, like a mixed martial artist, if you will. So what does a mixed martial artist do? He works out in Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, wrestling, Krav Maga, Greco, so that when he gets into the cage, no matter where the fight goes, he's at least comfortable enough to protect himself long enough to deliver damage, fundamentally, if you will. So for me, I'm a touring disc jockey, I'm a writer, I'm a performance poet, I'm a public speaker, I'm a music producer, and I'm a father. So I have to be as versed in all of those disciplines as I possibly can. Because if somebody wheeled a set of turntables in here right now and told me to show you something, and I don't know what's in the computer that's there, I'm very comfortable. If somebody put a piece of paper in front of me and said, can you write a poem about the 3rd floor of the 7th building on that block over there? I can do that. If I need to interview one of you, not even knowing who you are, but knowing where we are right now, and having done my research on what the new school is, knowing Phil, knowing what his skill set is, I could interview any of you. And I'm not saying that to aggrandize myself as much as I'm trying to paint a picture of engrossing yourself in the study of discipline. And I think that the martial artist's perspective is one of the smartest, healthiest perspectives in the world to take on. Some people can't watch it, some people think it's brutal and it's nasty, but it's one of the oldest things in the world. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. Who's more prepared? Who exercises a better game plan? Who's got a broader threshold for pressure? Who's gonna fold faster? Who can impose their will on the situation? So for me as an artist, I try to apply that mentality across the board. So that puts me in a position to be fully prepared. Doesn't matter to me if it's hot, if it's cold, if it's raining, if it's sunny, if there's a lot of money on the table, if there's no money on the table. Slow money is better than no money. I'm gonna get that slow money too, if I can. If I'm there and ready and prepared for the opportunity, then I can finish the job. And if I finish the job, no matter what anybody says to me afterwards who hired me, my job is to call them, email them, thank them, follow up, and provoke them by asking, when do you think the next time we can do that is? Because I had a great time. Sometimes that's just a little thing, you know, sometimes it's just the please and thank you of it. You might be the worst damn musician they ever heard, but if you're polite, it takes you a long ass way. Please and thank you will take you a long way.
That's definitely true.
So I've tried to not look at my career in compartments. Try to look at what I do and how I function as one thing. I want to be all of those things in one thing at all times. So at any time, if I have to go to any of those disciplines, I can get there immediately and complete a job. And I don't say this as if I have the answer or as if I've arrived at that point. I'm just saying that that's the objective. The objective is to be that prepared. You know, who doesn't want to be considered the absolute baddest motherfucker to ever do what you do? I'm not saying that because I am that guy. I'm saying that because my objective when they put me in the ground is to be able to put me in those ranks. So every day I'm endeavoring to be more of that person. I've been a professional DJ for 20 years. I've been DJing since I was 9 years old. I still touch my turntables 2 hours a day. If I'm home, if I'm at a friend's house that has them, whatever, doesn't matter. Push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, you know? Everybody sees Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was playing in the season, like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. You know, but you don't see the 1,000 jump shots a day he shoots in the summer with ankle weights on and wrist weights on and getting pushed around by guys that outweigh him by 30 pounds. So that by the time the season comes, it's easy because he's been getting his ass kicked all summer. So it's the prep, you know, it's prep. Preparation is king. So whatever your discipline, for me, I've just tried to use that philosophy more and more and more in my life. And I share the philosophy with my production partners and my management, and we talk about it, we discuss it, we mill it around, and we try to find ways to apply it to what we do. And it's been incredible for us. You know, the other thing that comes with all of this is that if you're gonna be successful, that means you're gonna be traveling, you're gonna be on the road, you're gonna be on the move. Me and my friends call it the rock and roll diet. You know what the rock and roll diet is? You hurry up and wolf down some food, standing up, go through security, you sit inside of a hollow pencil with recirculated air at 30,000 feet. You get off the plane, somebody picks you up, you wolf down some food, standing up, you go to sound check, you do the show, you take a shower, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you do it all over again. And all in the midst of that, you're changing time zones, climates, dealing with personalities, carrying your acts, unless you're so dope that you got flunkies. I'm still carrying my shit. So, you know, it also does indeed become a very physical thing.
And
that
records
you have to
are
take
heavy
on.
too.
Yeah, but when records in bulk are heavier
Very
than
heavy.
you would suspect.
Than you could possibly believe, actually.
So, you know, it's literal and it's figurative. You know, you need to take care of yourself to the degree that you can maintain. You got to find ways to rest your body and rest your mind and find enough peace so that when it's time for you to come out the gate, you're ready to rock and you're at your absolute best.
Break it down a little for us and tell us kind of what's going on.
In my world, things are kind of split up by residencies and by touring. When I say residency, I have a weekly residency here in New York City at Le Poisson Rouge on Wednesday nights. I play every Wednesday with a guy by the name of DJ Apocalypse. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with L. Michael's Affair, Truth and Soul Records. Apocalypse is the A&R at Truth and Soul, and one of the most underrated DJs in the United States of America. I do a Wednesday night party with him here in New York City. I have 2 monthly residencies in Philadelphia. I have a quarterly residency in Atlanta. I have a quarterly residency in Miami. I have a quarterly residency in Los Angeles. I have a quarterly residency in San Francisco. So that's my base. That's like mortgage, preschool, couple pairs of kicks, some records, maybe a little herb. Can I say that?
You can say it. Not that anybody here
I already
does
did.
that. Nobody here does that.
Big brother's watching. Fuck it, he knows.
He definitely knows.
So those are my residencies. And then beyond my residencies, we pick up as much touring work as possible. So again, you know, on a Wednesday night, a guy from Tokyo, a girl from Paris, and somebody else from London will come to the party. For whatever reason, they feel comfortable enough to come up and approach us and say something and hand us a card. We're on that the next day. I'm gonna call first to make it personal, and then when I get them on the hook and they say, oh yeah, that sounds cool, then I'm gonna stick my manager on. And he's a pit bull.
Yeah.
He's a beast, and he speaks the Queen's English. He's very smooth with it, very debonair with it. So, you know, you have to, even when you do have management, even when you do have people speaking for you, you need to involve yourself in those decisions because the client wants you. Yeah, your manager might be a cool person, they might be the cool buffer and the avenue for you to get where you're going, but at the end of the day, the client wants you. So there's an art to dancing along that line. Beyond that, I write a weekly column for Complex magazine called On the Road with Rich Medina, which is basically just me taking pictures, being drunk as hell, and
That sounds like a good
hopefully
gig.
playing well, but taking some pictures and just kind of talking about what I'm doing. You know, oh yeah, I was in LA last night. You know, it was 1,000 degrees outside, and we had 400 people in a 150-person room. Great night. Next, move on. You know, so every week, that column posts on complex.com in the city guide section. If you're interested, you can go to richmedina.com, and there's a tab. All the links at the top of the header on my homepage are live, and they will direct you to some satellite stuff that I'm involved with. I'm in a group of producers called the Marksman Guerrilla Production Network. We do custom library installations for restaurants, hotels, boutiques. I walk into your restaurant, sit down and have lunch with you and say, so, you know, it's lunchtime and I hear the Beach Boys playing and we're in Harlem. Does that make sense to you? And let you talk. And as you're talking, I'm taking note, listening to what you say your mission statement for your place is, or this is how I envisioned it when we designed it, and this is the type of food we serve at this time of day, and we turn the lights down this low at that time of night, and then we'll go back and design a custom music library that fits what you described. And we'll bring you a Mac Mini, 2 iPads, 3 iPod Touches, and explain to you how to use it, and we will lock the machine. So you think you're getting a machine with all this stuff on it, but the stuff is on a server. The machine is just a hallway. And then we will charge them for maintenance on a monthly basis to come in and add to or change or enhance the library for them. So that's another aspect of our business. We produce music for commercials, all types of commercials. Client will call and say, we want some feminine piano-driven hip-hop for a hair product ad. So we send a mail out to the crew. You got 72 hours. You might already have the music made. You might have to make something on the spot. You submit however many things you want to submit. We send it to the client. We send the client 1,000 things. So they can't come back and say, well, you got out of these 10 things you gave us, none of it works. Like, nah, dude, you got 1,000 songs. What you want is in there. And you're a marketing guy. You don't know shit about music. Listen to it next to your video copy and figure it out. Stop trying to talk to me like you know what I'm doing. Otherwise, you would have done it already. So that's an art too. It's a subtlety. You're not trying to be rude, but sometimes you have to check folks to make sure that they know that you are the professional that they requested professional services from. So
that's the deep mind game.
Well, it is
yeah.
a mind game. You know, it's very Pavlovian. You know, everybody know Pavlov's theory. You know, ring the bell, the dog will salivate. It's very much that. All you have to do is be as provocative as you possibly can, and it's all out there. You know, you guys all know better than me. There's no new notes on the keyboard. It's still do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's it. Everything that we do with music is based on that frame. Everything comes from that. 2 + 2 is always 4. So practice, 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 and try to open up your range. And thank God for me at this point, I've been able to open up my range to the point where now I'm being asked to do more speaking engagements like this. It's not about the guy who makes the dopest record anymore. It's the guy who made dope records, made money, diversified his business, and branched into other fields, and now is ubiquitous.
So that's an interesting pivot. I'm real curious to hear more about this thing up at Cornell, and am I right in my assessment of saying that maybe now hip hop is moving into the academy,
Absolutely.
Or at least in this instance?
Absolutely.
And do you see some correlation between that history that happened in jazz and now it's here in the institution? And
Absolutely. So I went to Cornell University. I graduated in 1992 with a degree in marketing and management. I went to my 20-year reunion 7 months ago. And on my way there, I get a call from the Kroc Library, which is the Cornell Rare Books and Manuscripts Library. So I'm on my phone like, what the fuck are they calling me for? This doesn't make sense. I could see if it was the English department or the business department or the athletic department. Well, why are these people calling me? I go to the library and I am enlightened to the fact that Cornell University has the largest collection of rare books and materials on hip hop culture in the United States. They also didn't have any alumni on the advisory board. I was the first alumni brought onto the advisory board for the Cornell Hip Hop Collection.
how did they compile this archive?
The Cornell Hip Hop Collection was started through a donation from Mr. Johann Kugelberg, who used to be a Warner Brothers Records executive. He was one of those guys in the 80s that was going to the South Bronx and just collecting materials from kids who were functioning through hip hop. As a matter of fact, he had a nickname in the 80s in the Bronx. They used to call him the ATM. And these guys were like, yo, I'm gonna go to the ATM, man. I'm gonna take these sneakers over here to home. I'm gonna go to the ATM, get some money. So he collected all these things, and he eventually made a book some of you may know of called Born in the Bronx. And Born in the Bronx is a $500 coffee table book on hip hop culture. Mr. Kugelberg donated all the raw materials from that book to Cornell University in exchange for the opportunity to be whatever he negotiated on the other side of that, which I'm not privy to. And then he also donated his punk collection which is 5 times the size of his hip hop collection. After getting the hip hop materials from Johann Kugelberg, Catherine Regan, who's the curator of rare books and materials at Cornell, started going after some of the other people in the culture who were known collectors. I mean, this is the woman who's run Cornell's Rare Books and Manuscripts Archive for the better part of the last 16 years. So she's going after original Shakespeare's, the Nuremberg Chronicle, Gettysburg Address, 13th Amendment, Declaration of Independence. All that stuff is in the same archive. And what has become now is a means through which we can use these rare materials, which are the Kugelberg collection, which is a series of flyers and gear and different things that he collected for the book. And then we have the Jeffrey Weiss collection. Jeffrey Weiss is the executive VP at Disney. He's also a big museum level collector. He donated 7,000 hip hop records.
Are these archives open to the public or just
Yes.
to scholars
Yes,
and
they
students?
are open to the non-public archive is not open to the public, but they bring different aspects of all these collections out to show. We have the Jeffrey Weiss collection. We have the Buddy Esquire collection, which is all the original hip hop flyers that you see with the stars, with the faces cut out, and the Come to the Fever or Come to the T Connection or Latin Quarters or wherever. The entirety of that, and not the photocopies, the OGs, like you flip it over and there's ink coming through. We got his whiteout bottles, his X-Acto knives, like other level collecting stuff. We have the Breakbeat Lenny archive. Breakbeat Lenny and Breakbeat Lou created Ultimate Breaks and Beats, which is a record series of quintessential hip hop breaks. If you want to get your head around the beginnings of hip hop DJ culture, you should definitely get your hands on the Ultimate Breaks and Beats collection, and it'll give you a good perspective on the type of records that were being played prior to the phenomenon that has become rap music today. So Africa Bambaataa is coming to Cornell University on a 3-year visiting professorship starting at the end of November.
Oh shit,
And I am helping to write the curriculum.
that's amazing.
I just taught my first class up there, which was an intro to Africa Bambaataa coming, and my class was basically demystifying the workflow of a disc jockey. So explaining what a Technics 1200 turntable is compared to the turntables of the day. Explaining what a mixer does, explaining what an RCA cable is, explaining what a conical needle is versus an elliptical needle. All these different aspects, and just kind of blowing the curtain back and giving people who are unfamiliar an opportunity to see the kind of inner workings of what it is that makes these machines function the way they do, so that when Africa Bambaataa, DJ Africa Bambaataa, comes up and he's doing all of his history and everything that he brings to the table as a teacher, the students who are sitting in the class have an understanding of what his primary creative mechanism is on a higher level. And I've also introduced them to Crazy Legs, Bobito Garcia, Joe Conzo's archive is there. They just acquired Ernie Panicoli's archive.
Wow.
There's a great deal of rare Gil Scott-Heron materials there. And now we have an opportunity not only, now there have been schools teaching hip hop classes and specialized hip hop things for a very long time. The difference with what Cornell is doing is that we're using these rare books and materials in the classroom, talking to kids who, most of whom at this point were born in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Their original experience with music comes through an iPod. They've never held a piece of vinyl for more reason than to pick it up and look at it. They think that hip hop is 50 Cent. They think that rap music is the be all and end all of hip hop, when rap music is only one of 4 rooms in a gigantic house. And we are tearing all of that mystery away. So now hip hop has the opportunity to be seen as Americana rather than some stuff that some Black and Latino kids in the Bronx
Some
started.
ghetto stuff.
Now it's Americana. It's just as American as baseball. It's just as American as capitalism. It's just as American as any American thing that's out there. And we have the opportunity to prove that to a bunch of people whose parents aren't even connected to the culture. So the dynamic that's happening is going to be very widespread in due time, and it's provoking a lot of other institutions to go after the very same effort. hip hop as a culture is just spread itself out in such a way that it's like it's a really thin, strong sheet of iron now. It used to just be this iron ball that's sitting in this place and it's undeniable, but now it's like kind of rolled out and flattened out across a broader scope. So now people just walking on it and you don't think about it because it's just underneath you. It's the foundation, it's there.
Now, so this is interesting. It just immediately, the parallel between the hip hop culture and the jazz culture, and right away I'm thinking about, is anybody else thinking about what's happening uptown, jazz at Lincoln Center, the whole Wynton Marsalis making, jazz respectable, which means really respectable in some way for white mainstream American culture. Now we're talking about the culture in a way going from an oral culture to this written, documented museum type of conservation culture, right? I mean, do you see this moving to a situation where people are going to, young musicians are going to be studying hip hop in an institutional frame?
The sticking point with regard to what we're doing with hip hop at Cornell is that in the rare books and manuscripts culture, the vast majority of the things that are being collected from the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren and the places that have bought the rights to these materials for these people who have been dead for a very long time. The beauty of what's going on with hip-hop is that a large portion of the pioneering forefathers of the culture are here. They're still breathing, they're still alive, and they're still in physical possession of a lot of those rare books and rare materials. So now you're bringing not only something from an archival perspective, but now you're getting the original article to come and speak in front of you about this very thing. So it's not third-party data. Now you're learning about why the Zulu Nation was started from Africa Bambaataa.